So today, we're gonna deconstruct the systematic genius behind Coco Chanel. And we're not just talking about the clothes. We're gonna uncover the powerful, repeatable system she created, a system we're calling minimalism that dominates culture. It's really a blueprint for how simplicity can become this incredible strategic advantage. And it all kicked off with one single radical act of rebellion.
I mean, can you just imagine the sheer audacity? In this world of stiff, painful corsets that literally enslaved women, she chose jersey. You know, the stuff they made men's underwear out of? This wasn't just some fashion choice. This was a declaration of war on an entire industry built on making things complicated and restrictive. This was the exact moment she committed to a whole new philosophy, the first real step in a lifelong, systematic quest for freedom and function that would change absolutely everything. All right, let's get into it. Here's the plan. We'll start with that Jersey rebellion, then trace it all the way back to her really tough childhood. We'll define the core philosophy she built, and then, this is the good part, we'll break down the exact systems she used to turn that idea into a global empire. And finally, we'll look at how her revolution completely upended an industry and what we can all learn from it today. You see, that choice to use jersey, it wasn't just about being comfortable. It was the moment she cemented this new ideology in her mind, that real power and real elegance comes from taking things away, not piling more on. This was the birth of a strategic minimalism, one that was designed to dominate culture by, you guessed it, setting women free. To really get how revolutionary this was, you have to understand the world she was fighting against. Before Chanel came along, high fashion was basically a gilded cage. I mean, sure, it was beautiful, but it was also a prison. Women's bodies were twisted into unnatural shapes by corsets, they were weighed down by just layers and layers of fabric, and covered in all this excessive decoration. This fashion wasn't designed for the woman wearing it, it was designed to be a walking advertisement for her husband's money. It was all about status over comfort, restriction over freedom. And Chanel saw this not just as bad design, she saw it as a kind of slavery. So, where did this radical obsession with simplicity even come from? It wasn't something she just dreamed up one day. Her revolutionary way of thinking wasn't really a choice. It was forged in the fire of her early life, an environment that was the complete opposite of luxury. And this, right here, shows the incredible contrast. On the left, you've got the world she rejected, ornamental, complicated, restrictive, and on the right, that's the world that actually made her, the stark, severe Catholic orphanage where she spent 6 years of her childhood. Just think about it for a second. The black and white habits of the nuns, the clean geometric lines of the building, everything was about function, discipline, and nothing else. This wasn't just some small influence. That austerity became the direct blueprint for her entire aesthetic. She took the pain and the poverty of her past and deliberately turned it into a new language of power. You know, all that hardship, it boiled down to two non-negotiable truths that became the foundation for her whole empire. First, self-reliance is the ultimate luxury. She learned really young that she could only count on herself, and that fierce independence is what drove her. And second, and this is just as key, she realized that true elegance isn't about what you add on, but what you have the guts to take away. It's in the purity of the shape and the intelligence of how it works. These weren't just cute ideas. For her, they were fundamental laws of the universe. So, with these core beliefs forged in her past, she started to organize them into a repeatable philosophy. This is the big turning point, where her personal story becomes a strategic business plan. This is the Chanel role. This right here, this was her entire philosophy in a nutshell. It's so simple, but it's incredibly deep. For Chanel, elegance wasn't about more decoration or chasing trends. No, it was a disciplined, systematic process of subtracting. It was all about finding the purest, most functional version of an idea and then having the courage to strip away everything else. This wasn't just a look, it was an intellectual discipline. Okay, but it's one thing to have a cool philosophy, right? It's a whole other challenge to turn that into a system that can build a global brand and dominate an entire industry for more than 100 years. So how'd she do it? How did she make eliminating the inessential into a concrete, repeatable strategy for winning? Well, this is how. She broke her philosophy down into 3 clear pillars. First up, the Subtractive Aesthetic Mandate. This was basically a command to ruthlessly hunt down and kill any detail, any line, any element that was not absolutely necessary. The little black dress is the perfect outcome. It's what you get when you subtract color, frills, and clutter until only pure, elegant form is left. Second, the utility as luxury principle. This was a wild idea back then, that true luxury is comfort, that a piece of clothing has to serve the wearer, letting her move, work, and live her life. That's why she used jersey and tweed, materials people thought were common, but she made them luxurious by focusing on what they could do. And finally, the rejection of the Gilded Cage. This pillar tied her clothes directly to women's liberation. Her designs weren't just clothes, they were tools for the new, modern woman who was becoming financially and personally free. But here's the thing, Chanel's real genius, it wasn't just having the big idea. She was an industrialist. She built these tough, practical systems to enforce her principles every single day, making sure that every single thing with her name on it was a perfect expression of the Chanel rule. One of her most powerful systems was what we call the core material and color protocol. Just look at this. Instead of being overwhelmed by endless choices, she put strict limits on herself. She systematically built her brand around a very small, non-negotiable palette. So you take the input of just black and white, you apply the Chanel rule, get rid of what's not essential, and the logical output is the iconic little black dress. Take the humble input of jersey and tweed, apply her rule of utility as luxury, and the output is game-changing sportswear. She proved that constraints aren't a weakness, they are a catalyst for genius. And what's so important to get is that her minimalism was never about being cheap. It was about achieving perfection in simplicity. Her second core system was this obsession with meticulous craftsmanship, especially in the details you couldn't even see. She famously had tiny chains sewn right into the hems of her jackets. Now, why would she do that? To give them the perfect weight so they would hang flawlessly on the body. The person buying it might never see the chain, but they would feel the difference. It totally redefined luxury, not as what you show off, but as the hidden integrity of the design itself. So when you put all of these pieces together, the philosophy, the systems, that hardcore discipline, you start to see the massive, world-changing impact she had. This was never just about building a brand, it was about engineering a total cultural shift. Her own life story really follows the same path as her brand. She starts as an orphan, a background that forged her entire worldview in austerity. She becomes a rebel, using fabric as her weapon in that Jersey rebellion. From there, she becomes a global industrialist, applying her rules and systems on a massive scale. And finally, she becomes an icon, creating the timeless template for modern elegance that designers are still copying today. Her journey just proves your past doesn't have to define your future. The Chanel effect was, well, it was a seismic shift. Before her, the entire industry was built on restriction, physical, social, you name it. After her, the new word was liberation. She completely tore down the old system. She proved that style wasn't something handed down from on high for women to just display. No, style was a product of freedom. It was a tool for empowerment. So, at the end of the day, what's her ultimate legacy? It's that she institutionalized her ideas. Minimalism, utility, the little black dress. These weren't just trends. She turned them into timeless cultural symbols. She didn't just sell clothes or perfume. She sold a whole new way of living. She sold independence. And she proved, once and for all, that the single greatest advantage you can have is the courage to ruthlessly simplify. And that brings us to the most important part of all of this. Because her story isn't just a history lesson. It's a universal, actionable blueprint for anyone in any field who wants to create something that matters, something that lasts. This is the big takeaway. Coco Chanel built her entire empire on one truth. Complexity is just a distraction. It's noise. It's often a place to hide when you don't have a strong core idea. Real power, real confidence lies in simplicity. It's having the courage to believe in your idea so much that you don't feel the need to dress it up with a bunch of unnecessary junk. So how do you actually apply the Chanel rule? It's 2 steps. First, adopt the Subtractive Mandate. Look at your project, your work, even your daily life, and just start cutting. What feature, what habit, what meeting isn't serving the core purpose? Get rid of it. Be merciless. Second, create your own core protocol. Don't be scared of constraints. Set strict limits on your tools, your palette, your inputs. Use that scarcity to unlock a deeper, more focused kind of creativity and to guarantee your output is always consistent. So just remember this. Coco Chanel built her empire on the truth that complexity is nothing more than a distraction. The Chanel rule transformed her personal rebellion into a systematic blueprint for a minimalism that could dominate culture. She proved that this pursuit of purity, of stripping away everything that doesn't matter, is the only way to create something that does. And her work reminds us of an unchanging rule. True luxury is the freedom of non-attachment to the inessential.